Sentinel's Week 8 high school football recap. I'm Perry Mattern alongside Jake Adams, and some interesting outcomes on Friday.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I was on the short end of the stick, and I get the Trippy Cat shirt once again. 2 weeks in a row now, I guess. We've been going back and forth, and now I take it for the second week in a row. Jake missed just one game, and we'll get to that game actually at the end of this video because it was the best game on the schedule this week. Let's start in Carlisle. The Thundering Herd took care of business.
Yeah, no surprise the offense did everything it could. Deontay Ramsey, from what we're hearing from the team, first time in school history they have a 1,000-yard receiver on the season, and they win when they need to again, and now it's just a matter of can they stay inside in District 3.
Susquehanna Township at Cedar Cliff, and the Colts maybe a bit of a hangover after the tough loss to McDevitt last week. It was a slow start for them, and it ended up almost costing them, but they get a field goal as time expires to win 38-35.
They needed 10 points unanswered in the fourth quarter just to even get back into that game. So big win for them. Kind of surprising that they needed that, like you said. But they got another great game from Grant, Brenneman, everyone there that they needed to. Did the job. They're still in the hunt.
Redland at Mechanicsburg. This was a game that was pretty close coming down the stretch, and the final score doesn't really tell the tale, but Mechanicsburg, unfortunately for them, now 2-6 on the year, not able to hang with the Patriots.
And Tyler Schubert had a great game, 13 for 21, 291 yards through the air, and it just wasn't enough. They didn't convert any of their extra points, which kind of hurt them a little bit. And Phil Overton had his way, scoring all 4 touchdowns for Redland.
Trinity at Steel High, Mid-Penn Capital matchup, and the Shamrocks continue to struggle on the road now, 0-5 on the year away from Cobo Field.
Yeah. Field goal to start the game, looked like they had some momentum going, didn't get anything going again until the fourth quarter, and by that point it was kind of too little too late. Shaheem Moody-Williams had a big game again for Steel High, no surprise there, 21 for 111 on the ground.
Greencastle at Northern, and the Polar Bears just not able to hang with the grinded-out type of game that Greencastle loves to play.
Which is kind of surprising. I wonder if they were kind of hung over from that game against Shippensburg last week. They did a great job defensively against the Greyhounds, but they couldn't do anything this week. Greencastle put up a ton of yards on the ground, and Northern just got nothing going offensively.
Milton Hershey at West Perry, and the Mustangs really didn't have much of a chance again in this game. This was actually, again, kind of like Redland Mechanicsburg. It was close for a little while before eventually the Spartans pulled away.
7-6 after one quarter, and it looked like for a little bit, okay, West Perry's going to make a game out of this, but then Milton Hershey put up 3-4 touchdowns in a row. It looks like, and couldn't do much there. West Perry, again, just they don't have the offense. Jacob Owens scored again. Third touchdown of the year, which is good. We keep saying that's basically their lone bright spot.
But outside of him, it's been really tough for them. Susquehanna at Williams Valley, and the Blackhawks fall to 0-8 on the year.
Yeah, Kevin Kenny at least had a receiving touchdown. Shane Smith back at quarterback again. A lot of flipping around there, all over the roster, really. Kenny finished with 13 receiving yards, 36 yards rushing as well. So he had a solid game for them. But they gave up almost 100 yards to 2 different running backs, both scored twice, and defense just couldn't hold it.
First key game, Camp Hill at Boiling Springs, and you got to combine 96 points between the two teams. And I have to say, being in attendance for this one, this was a lot of fun to watch. But Camp Hill, this was a pretty big statement win for them.
And I didn't expect to be as right as I was with our players to watch there. We had I had Michael Hope being someone to watch, and because Bill Williams thought was going to get a lot of attention, but 4 touchdowns?
Yeah,
I mean, geez.
Right. 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in that game. He was really the do-it-all kind of guy for Camp Hill in that game. And when they were down 14 in the third quarter, I'm thinking, the way Boiling Springs is running the ball right now, it's hard to imagine that Camp Hill's going to come back in the game, and then they had the lead within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's what is so incredible about this team, is that they can strike from anywhere on the field at any time and come back from almost any deficit.
And just look at what it does with this division now, too. We were talking about a little bit earlier off camera.
Right.
The Colonial and the Capital are 2 divisions where you can't figure out what's going to happen in these final 2 weeks. The Capital's got 5 teams at 3-2 or better, and Camp Hill's just making it that much more clogged.
Speaking of the Colonial, Shippensburg at Big Spring, the battle for the Little Brown Jug, and the Jug stays with Shippensburg. And it was a struggle for them to get on the board, but this was the kind of game that's the other way around, that the score was closer than it really appeared, because Big Spring, there's no offense for them right now.
Yeah, both Tristans couldn't get much going. Tristan Cooper actually had the better day, averaging 5 yards a carry, but they couldn't sustain drives. And when I was talking with their coach, Mike Barry, after the game, He said, like, that's their problem all season. Nick Black gave him a good game at quarterback. He's a freshman. He threw 3 picks. But, again, for how young he is, he did a fairly decent job in the face of that pressure. Shippensburg just kind of started to grind away, and finally by the 4th quarter, you felt it was going to change, and sure enough, they scored shortly into the quarter, and it was basically all over from there.
And the jug stays with Shippensburg as they are now really putting themselves right in the middle of that Colonial hunt. All right, our final key game and the big game of the night, Central Dauphin at Cumberland Valley. The Eagles win 7-0. Tim Spinelli with another solid game for the Eagles, and the defense comes up big. When this team is really there to play and really focused, as we saw earlier in the year with Bishop McDevitt in a game they lost 6-3, they are unbelievably good.
They held them to just 128 yards rushing and 53 yards passing. It's safe to say neither one of us saw this coming. I don't think
Central Dauphin has been prolific on the ground.
And we know CV's defense. We know both of these defenses are very, very good. But to do that, Carlisle beat up CV for more yardage a couple of weeks ago.
Right, almost 300. Yeah. Well, when you look at Cumberland Valley, and this is a big win for them in terms of the power ratings in District 3 Quad A, because now they make it an easier opponent in the first round. But the thing about this team that has to be so encouraging if you're an Eagles fan is that they can hang with anyone because of that defense. At least the offense is it's consistent. It can move the ball. It is not going to be a prolific score from anyone on the field type of offense, but this defense will allow them to stay with any team. I would say with any team in the state, it will keep them in a game with any team.
The only problem is they must play that A game, and we saw it against CD East last week. If they don't step up, the offense isn't going to keep up. And as we go into districts, obviously they're more than likely going to make it at this point. That's going to be more and more of an issue. This offense is going to need to be able to put up more than 20 points a game, which they've barely done this season.
And no doubt about it. And the offense, also the one thing, that, other than a Spinelli fumble late that could have cost them, they didn't make mistakes, turn the ball over. And that CD East loss, that was the problem, is that they put their defense in bad situations. Moving on to our Sentinel Stars of the weekend, let's go back to Camp Hill, Boiling Springs, and start there. Michael Schuster. We talked about Michael Hope, and we didn't talk about Schuster's line. 412 yards and 7 touchdowns. We can't not put him in on this list.
I'm going to nitpick. He threw 2 interceptions.
He did throw 2 interceptions. And the first of which was a bad decision. The other of which, well, actually both were bad decisions. The second was on a failed screen pass. But, talk about making some big plays, considering that the team was behind by 2 touchdowns in the 3rd quarter.
He's fun to watch.
He really is. We talked about this also off camera. Yeah. He's built like a quarterback. He looks the part.
Which you don't want to say because it's too cliche, but he looks like one of the more polished guys, and it's no surprise that he's got more than 25 TDs and more than 2,000 yards already. He's the first one in the area to do that so far.
Little Brown Jug game, and we had a Shippensburg defender last week as well, and let's do it again.
Nathan Sheffield, junior linebacker, comes up with the pick 6. It was only an 8-yard run, but it was the one play where Big Spring had a drive at the 8-yard line that if they could get things going, you felt, okay, they can maybe tie this. It was going to be a long drive, but this was their defining drive, and he completely shut the door on that.
Phil Overton for Redland, and we were laughing about this line because 44 carries. That is the definition of a workhorse, if I've ever heard of one, for a high school kid. But if he's going to continue to run the ball effectively, it's kind of hard for Chad Weaver to not give the ball to him.
Putting up DeMarco Murray kind of carries.
Right. Usage-wise, yeah.
The 4 touchdowns he had basically won the game over Mechanicsburg. And he's done this before. We've seen him put up 3-4 touchdown games where it's basically been him being the difference for a Redland win or loss. You got to be a little concerned, but at high school, these guys can carry the ball 50 times. Sometimes it seems like they bounce back in 2 days like they never did it.
They have all kinds of energy, and that's what we love about watching high school football. Well, we are finished with Week 8. 2 weeks to go in the regular season. We're going to get to work on previewing that for you for next week, and our preview video will be coming out on Thursday night. We'll talk to you then.